But I'm always overwhelmed, you might think. Well, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when the feeling of overwhelm starts, isn't it? It's like a mood. You can't say I got into a mood at 10:45 and then I got out of it again at 3:15, can you? Just like you can't say the exact second that you wake up, even if you use an alarm, or the second you fall asleep. You know that you must have been asleep because now you're awake, but it's impossible to define the exact moment. You were asleep and now you're awake. And it's the same with feelings of pressure and overwhelm. When you're thinking about whatever it is that appears to be overwhelming changes, your feeling changes. I'm not dismissing the challenges that people are facing. I know that things like bereavement, debt, divorce, work, relationship pressures, they can feel overwhelming. And I'm not trying to play down your circumstance, but you aren't feeling your circumstances. I know that seeing things differently doesn't change the circumstance, but it can help you to feel differently about it. When you stop taking your thinking seriously, you return to a state of clarity and you can deal with the circumstances in a better way rather than feeling overwhelmed and defeated. I wish I could say that you'll never get overwhelmed again, but I can't. But I can say that when you acknowledge that you're having these feelings and you just don't pay too much attention to the thinking that creates the feeling, you can see that it doesn't matter that you're having this feeling. You're feeling overwhelmed and under pressure, but so what? When you start to look at these feelings in this way, you'll be amazed at how quickly they pass. Because the problem with feeling pressure and overwhelm is that, without realizing, you focus on the feeling. So not only do you have a lot to do or cope with, you're also trying to deal with it in a tense state of mind, which makes it harder for you to think straight. Plus, you're preoccupied with being in that state of mind. It's a wonder you can function at all. But most of the time, we don't notice the thoughts we're having. So how can we change them? Well, the first thing to do is to recognize that the outside world of work deadlines, relationship issues, or money worries aren't running you. You are running your thinking about these things. Just noticing that you have a head full of thinking and don't try and manage or control it. When you try to control your thinking, you're not seeing that your thinking is out of control. Ironically, the more that we have on our minds, the less we actually get done. It's like paralysis. We think we should be doing so much that we don't know where to start, and our thinking shoots off in different directions. The more frantic our thinking, the more frantic we feel. It's like trying to open too many windows on your computer and getting the spinning ball of doom. The computer gets overloaded and it might shut down, or it will definitely slow down. But there isn't anything wrong with the computer. When it resets, it starts to work properly. It just stops being overloaded. And recognizing that you're feeling, your thinking helps you to reset the machine, helps you to return to clarity. You can't function properly when you're overloaded. When we live responding and reacting to our environment, we're knocking our body out of balance, and the imbalance becomes the new balance, and overwhelm becomes normal. But it isn't something we have to experience. If you keep running the same chemicals through your body, you're innocently keeping yourself in the same state. You keep having the same thoughts and the same feelings, and you believe that, well, this is just who you are. But neuroplasticity, the plasticity of our brain, says that we are changed by every thought we think. When do you get overwhelmed? What are you doing at the moment that you feel overwhelmed? I mean, even today I started to get those feelings. I started thinking, I've got too much to do. How will I get blah, blah finished? Is this new project going to work? And on and on. I started to feel anxiety and panic build up until I stopped and, well, I just laughed at myself. I had to ask myself, what am I doing right now, right this minute? And at that minute, I was drying my hair. Was I overwhelmed by drying my hair? No, of course not. I was overwhelmed by my thoughts of the things that I felt I had to get done during the day. And not only things that I had to get done this day, I was time travelling into the future and imagining the consequences of not getting things done tomorrow, and how tired I would be trying to get all the things on my list done. And speaking of feeling tired, I was once at an evening seminar listening to one of my mentors, someone that I was thrilled to be listening to, as she only comes to England a couple of times a year. Now, the venue for the event is known for its easygoing timekeeping, and the event was supposed to start at 7:30 and finish at 9:30. But, well, it didn't start until nearly 8, and then the break went on far longer than it was meant to, as people were catching up with each other, they were engaging the speaker in conversation. And then when it got to about 9:15, I started to think, well, this isn't going to finish until nearly 10. And by the time I've said goodbye to everyone, it could be nearly 10:30, and it's going to take me over an hour to get home, and I'll be tired, and I probably won't sleep. I've got an early morning client tomorrow, and I'll be tired when I'm working with him, and that's not fair to him. I should be on the ball. I started to feel really edgy and anxious, and I wasn't listening to the speaker at all, as I was consumed by my thinking about how tired I was going to be in the morning. I was totally overwhelmed by my own thoughts about the next day. And luckily, I caught myself and laughed at the irony. Here I was listening to a speaker talking about the illusion of thought, and there I was getting totally caught up in my thoughts. Well, once I saw this, my anxiety and tiredness vanished in a second. Now, we're often caught up in the vision of a future, my imagining that I wasn't going to sleep and I would be tired in the morning, whilst we're living in the memory of the past. I was thinking about the nights I hadn't slept well, but all I had to do was come back to that second. And in that very second, before I got caught up in my thinking, I was happily listening to the speaker. No thought on my mind.